we lost like 85% of the value of the company. I had no choice. The investors, they required me to become CEO of the company.
Marko Jalkanen, it's such a pleasure to have you here with me. For those who are seeing you for the first time, what is your story?
So I started to look at the opportunity in Stanford, California. To make a decision that I leave the academic position was not that simple. I had to discuss it with my wife probably for a year. I have raised in my life maybe $500 million.
$500 million.
You have to accept that sometimes you fail before you learn.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about Faron and about some of the challenges that you faced.
This could have been prevented. There are no side effects, and you are treating cancer. We were among the 3 finalists out of 600 candidates or so in the SME from the European Patent Office a year ago. If you don't do best of yourself, you will be unhappy rest of your life.
Marko Jalkanen, it's such a pleasure to have you here with me.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, for those who are seeing you for the first time, what is your story?
I went to the lab very early on during my studies, and I fell in love with that. And I'm still in love with that one. So I started here in Turku, already 76, it's some years back, to realize that if you want to do something significant in the science, you have to go abroad. And at that time, the difference between Finland and, for example, Northern America was totally different than it is today. So I started to look at the opportunity and ended up in Stanford, California. Spent 3 years, and that was like opening my eyes even further. And I thought that I can do the same what any Americans can do. And I have been living in that dream for the rest of my life.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. So this was a love story.
In a way it was. I have been, my mind's curious. I'm always curious in people, in biology, in nature. So that's in me. But to make it practical thing, that really requires hard work.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that you went to North America, and it was many, many years ago, where there was a big gap, and you thought to yourself, instead of being intimidated, you thought to yourself, you know what, I could do the same in Finland.
Absolutely. That's the reason we came back. Our kids stopped using Finnish, so they answered in English and thought that they become Americanized, and we didn't want to have that take place. And I thought today, especially, that.
Yeah, that's a good choice. It's like, Daddy, can I have a burger? What? Amborilainen. What are you talking about? Well, that is such a beautiful story, and I'm so happy that you had these strong roots back to Turku, that you're starting this. Now, I want to ask you, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and ask you a little bit of a different kind of story. And that is, what is the story that makes you the person that you are today?
There are a lot of things. The visit in California opened the eyes because you have so many opportunities over there, and money was not the limiting factor. And obviously, I realized that it's a limiting factor in Finland. I have now realized, and that's where we are living even today. But if you have a dream, you have to then just get all the activities around it and then just do it. And I have never doubted that I can do the same what Americans can do. And in that time, in California, Silicon Valley was already known, but it was converting into Bio Valley as well. Companies like Genentech, Faron Corporation, some other ones started to build up, and I was that close of that. I knew many of those people who actually built these activities. And when I came back from California to Turku, set up my own lab, I was rather soon invited to build a similar biosystem in Turku. And I don't know, was I lucky one? I was invited to do it, so obviously I took it great pleasure. And that was the time when BioCity kind of a community started to build up. And I'm so proud of being part of it. There are a lot of good people, and in the 90s, the excitement was tremendous into bio-life science activity.
So you were part of the wave that actually built everything that we see today.
Pretty much. But I didn't do it alone. We have a lot of good people, really. Having a focus on building it up. And also, there was a lot of national funds, Teches funds and some other funds really supporting all those activities.
Teches, that is now this is Finland.
This is Finland. I guess that's the I'm not a bit confused about.
Right. The new branding. Yeah. But now they took it really seriously, and they have the research to business that helps a lot of innovators do the switch that you have been trying to do many years ago already with so many others. Now, this is really interesting because the story reveals a lot more about your passion, and it shows us how curious of a person you are. Because, of course, we see you and we see all the accolades that you have and the awards, but we don't see the actual person behind all of this and how you're thinking about it. As a matter of fact, there is also a funny nickname that you have.
Yeah, it was given me during the school time already. My family name is like a little foot.
Okay, Littlefoot.
Yeah,
Jalkanen?
Jalkanen, small foot. But I used them with a high speed, and you may recognize in the nature a insect that moves really fast and it has thousands of legs.
Yes.
Emilveria is the Latin name of that. So I was nilpedet Jalkanen in the school, and I guess it shows up from time to time, even today. Some people are still considering things and underdone it, so that's what it is. Sometimes I make mistakes, but you correct them later on.
Yes, you correct them. As a matter of fact, like when it comes to decision making, I heard many times that we are always going to do bad decisions. It's just that you need to make another one to improve it.
Right, and to understand that you may be wrong. It goes all the way from family life to professional life.
From family life to professional life. Oh, I think I'll ask you a little bit more about that. As a matter of fact, many of our audiences here today are really interested in that switch that happens from being a researcher, being in academia, and then becoming an innovator. And we would love to hear more about your switch and what was that turning point that Marko Jalkanen was in the relative security of academia, and now you're going to the rough seas.
I guess having this rather unusual speed in my career, I became a professor less than 40. It was unusual, but it was a new professorship, and I was granted that one. Being in that position for maybe some 4 or 5 years, and people were asking, Markku, you promised also to build up industry around these activities, so where is that? And to make a decision that I leave the academic position was not that simple, to be honest. I had to discuss with my wife probably for a year. Yeah, before I was granted to do it. And I don't think so she regrets that either. But obviously, being young and enthusiastic about the opportunity, what is in front of you, I always felt that, if that fails, I can also come back because my CV already was rather good at that time, 100 publications and so on. Thinking that, okay, let's try to do this. If it works out, then see what happens thereafter. And I never came back to academia. I just felt that somebody has to do this conversion of innovations into early products, and hopefully take them all the way to the market.
Somebody has to do this.
There are too few in Finland. That's the crisis what we have. That's the reason why the GDP is not growing in Finland. It has not grown for the last 15, 20 years, which is really sad. And life science has so many opportunities. It's built with the opportunities. Every time you do an experiment in the lab, that could be a discovery that actually could convert the human kind. It's just so damn exciting.
Every great innovation starts with a eureka moment, but turning that spark into something real takes much more. That's why we help build From Ideas to Innovations, a course for people who want to do something with their spark. It breaks down exactly what stands between an idea and reality, the IP, the funding, the right people, the market fit. And through the series, you'll hear the stories behind those innovations, real conversations brought to life with the support of our partners, Varha, the University of Turku, and Åbo Academy University. Subscribe to our series and check out the course link in the description below. And now, let's get back to today's guest.
Oh my, it sounds like you are really excited about it, and there's also you could hear also a little bit of sadness in your voice saying this.
Well, it's tough to do in Finland. It would be completely different if we would have stayed in Palo Alto, which is, of course, middle of continent. The valley got it down, but it's available in the world. And by the way, I even know some of those billionaires over there. But that's not the point. But the point is that you don't have that, tremendous activity around these, and a lot of people who don't really believe that they can make blockbusters, like I call them, or sell more than $1 billion a year. There are 2 of those from Turku. One contraceptive for females, and now we have a prostate cancer drug. They both sells more than $1 billion a year.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then they are the only ones in Finland or for Turku. Just shows the strong activities what we have in the area.
That is true, and it shows like we're also at a very global scale. It's something for people to think about. Like you could be that.
Yeah, somebody has to sell them globally. What we are trying to do, for example, at Faron at the moment, I'm still a board member over there, is just try to stretch the clinical development to the point that the royalties are significant when they finally get to the market and the sales will grow up. Because if you get 20% out of billion sales, that's 200 million. I think that has an impact on this economic area.
Of course, it's very good one.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to, we'll get into Faron in a little bit, but I would like to circle back to if actually somebody has heard what you just said and said, okay, you know what? I am motivated, Marko. Where do I begin? Where do I go? What would you give them as a piece of advice?
Well, call me.
All right, you heard this. Call Marko.
Just a little thing, but that is one of the problem we have. I just heard earlier today the significant number of innovation notices the scientists have done to the Turku University. It's intense. It's not just few. And, we have the system that we report and apply to that one. But what happens to them thereafter? Is it that any scientist to make an invention, they have to turn out to become a businessman? That's not really doable. There has to be some background people who actually tell to the people what it is, what are the next steps. And somehow we should convert the system to provide the next step services for those inventors who actually would like to take them further and help the mankind. That's the challenge, and it's not limited to Turku, Finland. The same problem is global. Every scientist you actually start to talk about, they say that our system is really bad and you must have a better system. So, but somebody has to take that part of the activities. Yes. And scientists know what's important because they read the literature, they build their experiments to find out something new. So they have to be on top of the knowledge all the time. Otherwise, the science is meaningless.
Exactly. It's so beautiful how you said it's a global issue.
Here is global.
Basically, this is what we're doing at Science Pictures at our company, is that we're trying to help bridge the gap between science and society,
right,
through innovations and commercializing those innovations. And it was so shocking. I had a KOL placement in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And going there with this both like Science Pictures mindset, but also as a postdoc researcher. And I thought this is it. Like I'm going to the States and they have no problems whatsoever.
Right.
But I saw it.
Yep.
They're all stuck there with the same issue. Yep. And, the corporates are trying to work with the universities to get more of those innovations outside the lab.
Yeah.
But still, there's some resistance there.
Yeah. I got somewhat lucky with the first company, which is Biotech therapies, and sold later on to US. I felt that I'm really doing something extremely significant and something new in Finland, and I really loved to do it. The reason I actually went into run the business was partially also due to the investors, because they required me to become CEO of the company.
They required?
Yep. Yeah, they said that, Markku, you're not going to invest unless you start to run the company.
You had no choice?
I had no choice. But I had a positive feeling to do it, and I wanted to do, because I thought that, I have seen the science already. By that time, I had received the small Nobel Prize in 93, quite a number of other awards already at that time. So I felt that, I have 20 years to go, at least. Turned out to be 25 years. But anyway, so it was the momentum in Finland, and unfortunately in early 2000 it turned a bit different for political reasons as well, but I don't want to go into those. But the steady increase, the quality and quantity of Finnish life science is something that if nobody is utilizing that, we do it for just PhD degrees, and that's really sad. It's not really what we want to do.
Unfortunately, it is not.
Yeah.
And I think it's really beautiful how you mentioned, like, this is one thing that I love about Finnish people is how humble they are. How you have all those successes under, like Biotech is actually the first company in biotech that goes public.
Yeah.
So,
correct.
So not only that you became a big company, but you became publicly listed, like that big.
Yeah.
So and then you even got, I think, you got purchased as well. Like
it was sold to US company.
So you even made an exit in a way.
Yeah, I was not anymore with Biotech at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, I had left already. And I ran it for 6 years, so I thought that's about it.
So being a CEO of such a company, like, and being a researcher, but put under the pressure, what skills did you have to develop to be able to lead such a big organization?
If you think about moving from science into a business, you live in two different worlds which are completely separate. And this is the warning I need to give. When you go into a business which is controlled, especially drug development is controlled by the authorities, FIMEA in Finland, FDA, hopefully it stays there, the US, EMA in Europe, they have set up a regulatory pathways for everything. And then the investors do not allow you to publish anything anymore. They say that you have to patent everything, you have to be quiet to everything. They also want to control certain business activities. So you need to convert yourself from rather open environment into a much more closed environment. And sometimes it irritates you, but you have to tolerate that. But I have to give this warning because it is a different world. And sometimes when what comes to the investors, they are interested in their money. They want to multiply that money, of course.
10x at least.
Yeah, and then they think about the exit because that's their world. They live in that one, and I understand that. But when you are a bit naive at the very beginning, you sometimes after the few meetings you are just wondering what kind of world you need to live in. But you get used to that. But you have to have an open mind when you move from science into a business.
Would you say, do you need an even more open mind when you become publicly listed in the stock market?
Yeah, when you are publicly listed, then you have to be careful with all the words and sentences you give out because those are recorded. Often they can be challenged later on. Did you say too much? Did you promise too much? Did you say something that somebody legally take you back? In US, the legals are really active, challenging the companies. One of the biggest departments they are usually the companies is the legal department, because they get so many challenges from the market. Oh, but that's very, very beautiful. I don't want to people take this too seriously because many of them can not be SaaS of the company. They could be also R&D side, which is really true, very, very, very practical thing. And converting your own invention, for example, which I had the possibility to do. I can give an example of that. You actually see the outcome, and if your original thought has been that I want to help sick people, that is the way how you actually can do it. It's beautiful. It's some people value this even more than being an MD and helping sick people, because now you can actually help thousands, maybe 100,000 people, and get them really to make their life much easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to ask you more on that because when you left Biotech, you actually did something else. You did like stop there.
Yeah, I was part of a equity company called Eureka Capital. I was an advisor there. We invested 6-7 companies and we tried to guide them out. But then at the same time, I noticed that there are some additional discoveries coming up. And we waited then to become mature enough before we just started to build a new company, and that's when Faron came in.
So Faron came in to take those inventions, and turn them to actual products that help so many people around the world.
Yeah. But one bad example which I have it was with the Biotech. I brought in a project that we called Biotech. Heparin is an anticoagulant. It's in use on the daily basis in acute medicine during the surgeries and so on. People do not realize, but it is an animal-derived product. It comes from the slaughter material. All of it, 75% slaughter material on China. It's extracted and then isolated and then fragmented, and that's what the mini heparin is. Sales are maybe 10 billion a year.
It's huge. Yeah,
It's right. They had a project, European Union funded project to make a bioheparin from the bacterial source, and we got some like 80% of the properties compared to this animal derived, and Biotech licensed that to German pharma company. One I should remember the name, but the evidence and even paid significant license income to Biotech. But that German company then was later taken over by Sanofi.
Sanofi, yes.
Yeah, in French companies. And when they compare their projects, Sanofi had their mini heparin project, but this German company had the same, but it was based on this non-animal material that they cross it out, and it never was continued. So I'm pretty sure that it would have been continued if you had a bacterial-based bioheparin available today. So that was a bit hit me for myself.
That's a bit sad because I think you have this researcher inside of you.
Still.
Like a strong, he's a strong voice and is saying like, this is beautiful research and it's so potential, but instead of actually getting it to the market, you don't want it to fight with your other products. You just put it in the drawer and you close it. So then if we can ask you a little bit about Faron, about that journey and like we know that journey had ups and it had downs as well. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about Faron and about the some of the challenges that you faced.
I do want to come back to the academia. I said that, I have now learned to build companies. I know a lot of people who are capable of helping me. And this is always a teamwork when you go. You have to have a capable people really and become independent so that I can trust them or CEO can trust them that they do what have been agreed on. There were so many good projects. And I'm happy that I'm still able to understand what Nature articles tell you and so on, and that's really the science background. So we started to think about, so what are the next, projects we can actually start to look seriously and then build a new company around it. One molecule was a clever one that was published, I guess the very first article already 2003 that started to, in my mind, to look really interesting because these immuno-oncology treatments for cancer, I knew from Stanford time Jim Allison, who was then given a Nobel Prize later because he was on sabbatical at Weizmann's lab while Silpa was there, and he already spoke in mid-80s that we have to have an immuno treatment for the cancer patients. Think about how long it can take. Yeah, in mid-80s. He was a professor at Berkeley Biochemistry Department at that time. So it just shows that these science-based discoveries, they take a while before they mature enough to build an understanding how you actually get out with the final product. Having immune stimulation is one part, but at that time we knew, and the biology and the literature confirmed that there are suppressive elements which actually control the overactivation of the immunity, because obviously that is dangerous to you as well. You get all the immune diseases, you get a number of other conditions which are not very good. And to identify a molecule that actually is involved in immune suppression is critical for all these pathways. And if you learn to control that, it could be a significant. And that we understood in 19th first decade of the 20s, and then we built basically the company on that one. But then at the same time, we also understood that interferon beta controls CD73. That was another target Silva's lab identified, and interferon beta has been known as a MS disease drug for quite a while.
Multiple sclerosis.
Yeah, multiple sclerosis. Okay, but nobody had really look any other opportunities. And now that upregulates CD73 that maintains the capillary integrity, we thought that, okay, maybe that can be a product much faster to the market. There is an existing compound that has the kind of all the documentation around it. That went extremely well. We used that one to make Faron listed in London in 2015. We set up a pan-European phase 3 trial, 70 plus sites all over Europe. Then 2018 became the results, and it was negative. And later on, we understood that the massive use of corticosteroids actually prevents interferon beta function, and it prevented the treatment itself. That's all later on published and documented. So we understand that. So if somebody wants to use interferon beta today for the acute lung injury, whatever, it has to be absolutely without corticosteroids.
Or else the interaction, the interactions will not work.
Yeah, corticosteroids will alter the interferon beta pathway and become dangerous to the patients. And to be honest, I might feel that the recommendation for WHO, okay, for the COVID-19 patients that they should be treated with corticosteroids may have killed millions, but that's what may happen. But that's what the biology is so sensitive, so has to be. So then after that period, Clever-1 became the major target, and the humanization of the antibody had been carried out, and we immediately pushed for this clinical trial out, and we are now in the situation that we expect to get very recent near future the phase 2 results, and obviously that hopefully will be a good one, and it's good to go.
It's good to go. So then if we can take a moment to pause on the many valuable things that you shared. The first one, you started early on saying that this was not just you.
Yeah.
This was a team effort.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people, and you need to find people that you can trust.
Right.
So we would say, like, being an innovator, it's not just a one-man show. You need to actually always think of the team and the environment you're in. But then the other thing that you said very casually, I would say, is how the phase 3 experiment failed.
Yeah.
Even though that was your entire direction. Like, you became a publicly listed company.
Yeah.
And of course, people are always having their ears with you. And when they heard about your phase 3 experiments failing or getting a negative result,
right,
I'm sure your stocks plummeted.
It did. We lost like 85% of the value of the company.
85% of the value?
Yeah.
Did you lose some hair? I mean, I lost my hair.
No, I right away felt that, I need to understand why it happened, because the phase 2 results which are published in Lancet was extremely good.
Positive.
And absolutely amazingly good. And one of the first things we understood was that the massive use of corticosteroids were very evident. Even the clinical PI said that they don't use that. We had one PI, or the major PI from London, from University College of London Hospital, who said that their unit is never using corticosteroids. And when we started to look at the data, because everything's recorded, 60% of the patients actually received corticosteroids. And this guy had said to us that they never use it. So I don't know what happened in between those original planning of the trial and then the later on. This could have been prevented by setting a protocol so that you have a corticosteroids treated and non-corticosteroids treated.
You have some other
groups. I didn't have a crystal ball at that time to understand. Now I would have it. So that is an example why it's so important to understand the biology of that target when you move on and what you want to do.
Okay, so that's almost a superpower that you would have. Like, if you are already having that background as a researcher and going into the business world and creating drugs that will impact millions, you also have the eye to go through the science, to go through the research and say, oh, hey, look at this experiment. Something's not right here.
We have a bit similar situation now with this compound called bexmarilimab. It's an official name given by WHO.
This is the new drug.
This is the new drug now, which is in the Finland. Yeah.
Okay.
When we started to think about that, it blocked this receptor on the surface of these myeloid cells. We came to the conclusion that we don't want to kill the cells. We don't want to build a lytic activity, meaning that you kill the cell. that's what most of the cancer drugs are using. They activate the system so that they kill cancer cells, but they do kill quite a number of other types.
Of course, yeah, they kill a lot of cells in the process.
So what needed to be done was that we had to make the antibody totally kind of invisible by removing certain parts of the antibody so that there wouldn't be certain binding sites to other activators or inhibitors of the immune system. And then that's where our vision felt that we don't want to have any lytic activity with the antibody, and that's what we have succeeded. And that is the reason why Beck's treatment is so safe. There are no side effects, and you are treating cancer. The patients have reported that they started after few treatment cycles, they start to feel really good. They go back to play golf, they start to ski, and that would be a significant benefit for the treatment, not having another toxic treatment like a lot of the cancer treatments are today. I'm really looking forward to data when it comes out.
Oh, me too. I can't wait to invest.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it as well. Like the way you said it.
You have to carry out the risk.
Right? We might go up or we might go down. But this is life. It's always taking the risk and always trying. And just the promise that you, like, why I got so motivated is the promise that you just gave us here is that there is a better world out there. There is some innovation that now we're going through the trials that instead of killing all those cells and making the patients so sick and tired all the time, it's actually targets.
Yeah. And one advice I have for the youngsters who are thinking about it, please trust your own data. Trust always, trust your own data. If you don't trust your own self or believe in your data, nobody else will do it. So if you are a bit doubtful, take another experiment with a different design and see if you get the same outcome. That repetition is worth of doing.
Okay, that's a very powerful advice.
Yeah, and often even you publish that, you don't necessarily get the first publication in the most significant journals, because there is this critical background people who think about that's impossible and so on. So you may have to compromise with the quality of the journal, but at the end of the day, people will recognize that and then you bloom.
And then you bloom. Yeah. This is beautiful. So keep that belief in your data. There's always this, they call him the reviewer number 2. There's always a myth that reviewer number 2 is always aggressive and is always giving you major revisions, if not actually telling you this is a rejected paper.
It's a cruel world out there.
It's a cruel world. I agree. Thank you so much for sharing these. Now, if we look at the core values or the core principles of a CEO, what would you tell the viewers listening to us today?
Early on, you have to focus on getting funded. You have to raise money. I have raised in my life maybe $500 million.
$500 million?
Altogether, yeah. And you have to trust that the management group really take care of all these daily activities and we progress with the pipeline. But then one of the things is that you have to motivate all these people. So you have to understand what their problems are. You have to support them. Sometimes you have to do favors to them. So CEO is involved practically in small companies with everything, and you have to be ready to do. You have to empty the trash can if it's full. That's what it is. Then later on, when company, for example, gets the first product, then it becomes what is the market, how you control the marketing and so on. So the job is then totally a bit different. Then you're not anymore worried about so much of money from the equity side. You are worried about, can you get the product to the market? And the CEO is a different person. And I'm not sure that I'm good in that because I have never done it, to be honest.
Okay.
I have been really in this conversion part only.
So from the innovation in the labs to the market.
Yeah.
That's the part that you have been most...
Yeah.
What about the other parts? Is there somebody who helps you with it? Do you have like business developers that support you or?
Yeah, that's usually the business development is the key person in the company.
Okay.
Yeah. In all the stages, even when you are raising money, because they have to build the business model.
Of course.
Because the value of the company is really based in the model where you actually understand what the peak sales potential is. And the peak sales potential come from the price and the number of the patients you can treat.
Yes.
And that's the peak sales.
How much of the market you can actually support.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then you get it, because then the value is counted back, and with that value, the money comes into the company.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's common in US. It doesn't work so well in Europe, but that's very kind of a commonly used valuation based, and that's the reason why some of the very early companies could have a market cap of billions.
Because they value you based on the potential that you can actually reach.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
we are not very good in that in Europe.
We're not very good in that.
Yeah.
But then if we can give a takeaway message to anybody who's, now I'm gonna be like very practical here. It's that conversion from a scientist to an innovator. What do they need to get that? I mean, there's also like, there's funding issues always. It's like, what if I lose my job here? What do I do? What about the finances?
Well, you have to tolerate the risk, obviously.
Okay.
But you do that in the science anyway. When you send in the manuscript, you never know what happens to that. Science is one of the riskiest life you have, but you get used to that. But you have to be excited every time when you make corrections, and then you believe that, I get it published. With the investor, it's pretty much the same. You get a lot of failures. You meet 1,000 investors, and maybe only 1 or 2 will invest. But that's enough.
That's enough. That's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need at that stage. But then to become a product-orientated, you have to kind of understand what the final product is. It's not to continue the science in the business environment. It's really to focus on the product. And obviously you have a pre-product, you have drug candidate, which you have to then believe one day that, this is the one we start to invest in clinical trials. And clinical trials are the most expensive part of this whole drug development. There are a lot of other life science activities, and I have noticed that there are, for example, this AI activities nowadays involved in a number of a patient care system, because obviously if you can build algorithms based on the existing data, that will be helping the next treatments and the use of these old techniques what we have. And there are a lot of activities in Finland on that area. How big business that could be. But if you come back to the drug business, there's nothing we can do, because if you have one patient in a cancer clinic, in Europe, it's roughly from 50 to 70,000 euro per patient. So if you have a 100-patient trial, you get the number. In US, it's at least 2 times higher, maybe 3 times higher. And hospitals will charge you.
Of course.
It's kind of funny thing people do not think about, but clinical development supports a lot of healthcare, because that money goes to the hospitals. It's not that they cover the real expenses, they just collect money.
Yes.
Yeah, which they are allowed to do because they have access to those patients. Companies do not.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This is it's a different world, and I'm really happy that you shared with us these insights. These insights are going to be very valuable, because you showed us also that Marko Jalkanen is a person who not only has 1,000 feet, but you have also been having many hats on, almost 1,000 hats on, and every hat was used at a certain time. And I think this is beautiful that you did not tell us that you had to learn everything from day one, but every time you're learning something new about that world.
I think learning is mandatory, and you have to accept that sometimes you fail before you learn, and that's part of the tolerance you have to build. And this SISU resilience, which is also connected to Finns,
yes,
that is absolutely required in startup business. You have so many uncertainties over the years, but you still need to keep smiling and keep trying and motivate the other people around you.
That's beautiful. Very well said. Thank you so much. This is really beautiful. I'd like to take us into sort of the parts that now we're talking about, the ups and downs of your journey. And I think it's really, really interesting is that we see, of course, it's a bit like maybe serious. This business world is all about, the funding, the money, the market cap, the investors, pitching, all these things. But also, I'm sure there's going to be memorable and fun moments that you have gone through in this journey. Can you share one of those moments with us?
Maybe the most memorable one during the recent time was this award which we got together with Sirpa from the European Patent Office a year ago. And they had a gala dinner in Malta. We were among the 3 finalists out of 600 candidates or so in the SME group. Having all that experience, wonderful gala dinner, and it's not over yet. There will be additional activities ongoing all the time. And understanding that we have a tremendous need in Europe really to commercialize academic discoveries and build SMEs that actually could become a significant companies later on. And being part of that and then being gratitude for those activities we have done, that was kind of a symbolizing both my academic understanding but also the business understanding, and I felt really pleased. That was really nice. But then on the sad side, we mentioned already the interferon beta failure in 2018. Obviously, that my blackest day.
Oh,
it took place on a Thursday, and we had to announce that on next Monday to the markets. And I spent the weekend in Sevilla, in Spain. Sirpa didn't know anything because I couldn't tell this, so tried to look cheerful all the time. Went back to London on Sunday evening and released that on Monday and gave a presentation with those sad results. That I will remember the rest of my life, obviously. But again, that builds the sisu. That builds you to take it like it is. Like, maybe the sisu comes from the fact that you're living in rather isolated environment for a long time, like the Finns have been here in the north. If you don't get the first moose you are hunting, you go after the next one. If you don't do that, you lose your family and everything. So it's an example where this nature may. I have always wondering, is there some genetics behind it? And I'm actually one of them. I'm a real evidence of that. I'm red and green colorblind.
Really?
Yeah. But the advantage of that is that I see very well in the dark.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the wintertime when you hunt, you better have a good eyes.
We better get you.
Yeah. And it's much more relevant in Finnish population than in other populations.
So it's more like a genetic adaptation.
Yeah, most likely. It's X-linked, so more males have it because we have only one X. So with the females, you need to have that in both X chromosome. Yeah.
Well, I did. That's a new piece of information, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of sometimes you need to think about it. Why some properties are developing and so on. It's biology is so exciting. I'm just thrilled, and I'll hopefully get to live long enough to understand what our brains are actually adapted from.
It feels very beautiful to have this also to our audience, to see that side of you, the side that doesn't see anything like, that's how I'm looking at it. That doesn't see anything like a setback as the end of the world or this is it. No, you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
This builds my sisu.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm colorblind, but you know what? I can see at the dark.
Yeah.
So you're always looking at the other side of the coin.
Yeah. Then on personal life, there are certain activities which we respect a lot.
Okay.
My mother gave one advice to Sirpa, only one, which is very few for mother-in-law.
Right.
And she said that, Sirpa, remember to have a dinner always together. And that is something we are missing in our society at the moment. We have had that when the kids grew up. We had that very late, 8, 9, when they returned from their hobbies and so on. When they all studied here in Turku, we had Sunday dinners. It started like 3, 4 p.m. working on with the food and everything, and ended up, that was the era we understood what's going on with them while they were not living at home anymore. Now we have 11 grandchildren, and we have those from time to time at our house. We also take our grandkids to some locations without their parents, because then we get to hear
the stories, what they do at home, and the information.
Yeah, so it's family life has been really important for us.
Family life.
Yeah.
And it's something that's also sometimes counterintuitive to the CEO life that we hear about. It's like busy, work-oriented, alpha type personality. But then you're showing us this other side of being actually human and being part of society.
It's part of
and being
me.
with
It's part of
family
me,
and-
absolutely, yeah. When I work hard. I can do night shifts, which a lot of people have been wondering. I may be sending not any more emails 3, 4 a.m., but that has been a habit for a long time, but not anymore. Now I'm Chief Operating Officer of the Jalkanen Transportation, because now I take my grandkids to the soccer training and
Chief Operating
Yeah.
Officer, right? Let's go to the mall. Let's go to the gym. Let's go to
Yeah,
the clubs.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's so beautiful. And really, thank you so much for sharing this. If you can go back in time, would you do it again?
I would probably do it again, but I have to rethink about where I can finance those activities, because to take all this difficulty to raise money, even you know that you have a good project, it's too much to take a third time.
It was lovely having you here, and I'd like to conclude. We want to have a little bit of a ritual for our series. Is that given that we're science pitchers and we love the ideas to be pitched to society, we want your idea to be pitched to our viewers. So why would somebody leave the comfort of academia and venture out there in the world? If we would give you 30 seconds to give them a moving and inspiring pitch, what would you say?
If you don't do best of yourself, you will be unhappy rest of your life. And you will realize this at one point. And there are so many negative attractions on this planet that you'll be attracted to those. So you're going to waste your life unless you really don't really try your best, one or the other way. And we have different talents. We have to accept that. But somehow we all have our own talent, and that has to be put on to serve yourself and the society.
This is beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure.
Every great innovation starts with a Eureka moment, but turning that spark into something real takes much more. That's why we help build From Ideas to Innovations, a course for people who want to do something with their spark. It breaks down exactly what stands between an idea and reality. The IP, the funding, the right people, the market fit. And through the series, you'll hear the stories behind those innovations. Real conversations brought to life with the support of our partners, Varha, the University of Turku, and Åbo Academy University. Subscribe to our series and check out the course link in the description below.